Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, good people and English channel around the world. How are you today? I hope you in a good condition always. Amen. So we're back again on Instagram Live, namely English Talk, and we have a special guest right now. Special, amazing, credible, yes, excellent speaker. Yeah, on English Talk this day. So he is Ustad Adam Aslan. He is from UK. So welcome Ustad Adam. How are you today?
Alhamdulillah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah
Walik.
khair. Ustad. Thank you for the opportunity to talk with you today.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for anything for your time that you sharing to us that we want to talk about this tonight. So thank you for joining us about the English talk. And this program is like immersion class. So the viewer or listener just watch our conversation. There is no subtitle, no translation, no Indonesian meaning or something like that. They try to catch, they try to understand what we're talking about. So today's topic is about the British Muslim experiences. So we want to talk about your experiences as a Muslim in Britain. So I think without further ado, I think if you don't mind, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, Ustad Adam, please. Over to you.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi wa kafa. Salatu wassalam ala Rasulullah. Amma ba'd. Firstly, I'm so happy to be talking to all of my brothers and sisters in Indonesia. It's an honor. Indonesia is my favorite country in the world. Saya cinta Indonesia. Inshallah, Indonesia Ria. So, as a British Muslim, my ancestry comes from Hindustan, from India. So, my grandfather came from the Punjab region. Punjab is an area of northern India and eastern Pakistan, which was split in 1947. So, when you had Merdeka Indonesia, in the same 5-year period, India and Pakistan was created, the Muslim state and the secular state. So, my grandfather and his family had to leave India to come to the land of Pakistan, where they lived in poverty. And then in the following 20 years, by 1964, my grandfather came to England because many parts of Pakistan was being developed, reconstructed. It used to be ruled by the British. So the British said, we have lost many people in the war. We need to develop our factories. There was a big economy of factories. And because there were very few workers, they invited people from all over the old empire, which was dying, to come. So many people from Kashmir, India, Pakistan came in the 50s and 1960s. And so my family have been living in the city of Leeds. Leeds is the 4th biggest city in UK. It's the capital of a region or county we call, like you have district, county known as Yorkshire. It has a very strong farming history. It has very historical towns. There's a joke, it's God's country because the people here are so friendly. And my mother was born here. My father came from near Lahore in Pakistan. He married my mother, who was a very distant relative. And I have one younger brother. In terms of my background, I went to school. I was born, yes, I'm a Bule. I was born in UK. I went to Roundhay School, which is one of the leading secular high schools. I studied under several Kiai whilst going to school. So in the daytime, I used to attend normal school. Then I used to do Tahfiz al-Quran in the local mosque. There are over 9 different masajids in my area. So my community, my kampung, my area of Leeds is called Hare Hills. And Hare Hills is one of the 5 areas that has over 40 different communities from many different ethnicities, backgrounds, and communities. And many immigrants over history have moved to Hare Hills, and then as they've become richer, They have migrated to other places. We're about 2 miles from the universitas and the city center, so we're very close. Um, in terms of my background, I studied political science. I studied history and philosophy with the universities of Leeds first in my foundation studies, and then my degree at the University of Bradford. I did some postgraduate study. I trained as a youth worker, as a community activist. I've done some work around conflict, anthropology, culture, and I basically work with mentoring young people. So I'm currently one of the oldest members of the Leeds Muslim Youth Forum, established in 2005, then again in 2007, after the bombings in 2007, like the equivalent of Bali bombings in, say,
Yep.
Indonesia, and it was established to develop young Muslim identity. So our work is all about mentoring young Muslims to work in all communities through sports, culture, activism. I've worked with various organizations in London that work with government, so the Faith Forums for London, which I'm really grateful to because I was mentored by them in some of my activism. When I was at Universitas, I was made a khatib, and I was a khatib and a mudarris, teaching Quran in my community and teaching Islamic studies to teenagers and children. I've been involved in da'wah projects. I've been involved in various forums, the Leeds Faith Forum, Concord, Interfaith Fellowship. These are organizations that bring various religions together, and I always try to represent my limited understanding of Islam and empower Muslims to be more integrated and involved in the social culture. So anything to do with mental health, anything to do with education, I'm very interested. I studied fiqh and usul. I traveled to Morocco and France and Palestine and various countries, but I studied most of my Islam from different qiyais and Darul Ulooms in the UK, and I'm still studying. I haven't finished my studies, but my life is a combination of preparing for my master's, looking at mental health, education, and religion, running Lead Street Team, which is a youth organization that supports teenagers who are on the streets doing drugs, involved in crime, and trying to empower and mentor them to become better young leaders. I also still do some research work looking at history. So I'm trying to help compile a history of our community in the city, which is about a 50-year-old history. So I'm doing some research there, working with teenagers to study oral history, like interviewing the elders. And I'm also doing some work around building the capacity of young people to be more involved in politics, in activism, and understanding culture. So I'm studying, I'm teaching, I'm working, I'm traveling, but a lot of the time I'm spending my time at home with my mother because I'm a big mummy's boy. But that's sort of me in a short summary.
Okay, what an interesting introduction. Thank you very much.
It's a big
So,
question. I don't know where to go from. And forgive me if I sound arrogant.
okay, doesn't matter. So the first question, what is it like to be Muslim in Britain today?
Okay, what's it like to be Muslim? Well, there's like less than 5% of the population is Muslim. That's 3 million people. To be honest with you, you have lots of identities. You have Muslims who are very secular, Muslims who are
Yeah.
very conservative. You have many qiyais, many elders. They come from their country, Gujarat in India, Pakistan, Somalia, and they bring their understanding of Islam, their fiqh, their urf, their culture, and they establish in the community, in the city where they are living in UK. So some
Mm.
communities are very closed. Many communities are very, very, very open. We have Islamic colleges like in Cambridge and in Oxford. There are now Islamic centers. The oldest one is called Markfield Institute near Leicester. We have many Islamic schools, private, like independent schools. But the thing is, let me be very simple. I am a
Yeah.
minority, but I live in a community where there are people from all around the world. So there are many, many different minorities living together. And I have to speak in different languages sometimes because there are always new people who are working in the shop, selling the meat, opening the store, new children who are in the community. So I used to, when I was younger, feel quite lonely. My father is from Pakistan. My grandfather is from Greater India originally, but I'm British. And some people like to ask the question, um, is being Muslim more important than your nation? So, like, is me being a Muslim in Muhammadiyah more important than being Indonesian? And for
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
it's very, like, it's connected. And this is a very strong conservative idea of some da'is in the 1990s. No, no, we, Ikhwan al-Muslimin, we are Muslims, we are one. This is more important. Nationalism is a fitna. And for young Muslims, we became quite confused, I would argue, about what does it mean to be British and Muslim. But actually,
Yep.
I should understand my deen. There are many Islamic schools, many universities with Islamic studies department. There are many madrasas. There are many Islamic organizations. But I should, as one of my mentors would say, I should be confident in my Islam. I should be confident that this is my identity, this is my faith, this is part of who I am. I am looked after by people around me. My rights are protected. My culture is respected. But at the same time, I am comfortable Muslim, but I am confidently British. I am proud that I live on this island, because when I
Oh,
look at Quran shows me to love your community, and we
yep.
are, all one. Everybody who is living around you should be protected by you. This is your Islamic responsibility. So yeah, I'm a Leeds boy. I'm from Yorkshire. My mother has a strong Yorkshire accent, but for a long time I was thinking, am I British? Am I Muslim? But Muslims can wear hijab openly. Muslims can pray salah. Even many schools now, they have halal food. 10, 20 years ago, they didn't. You just ate the vegetable food, you didn't touch the meat. Now there is halal food. Now there is room for salah in many high schools. In many junior schools, they teach Islam in religious education. So 10, 20, 30 years ago, we have slowly, as Muslim people have become more professional, experts, more developed, second, third generation, and we explain to the council, the government, the education, the NHS, that this is the needs of the Muslim community. They have slowly begun to include all of these needs into our requirements for living, which is amazing about UK.
Okay, so do you feel proud to be Muslim in UK? Because Muslim is a minority. So do you feel proud to be Muslim in UK right now?
People always ask the question, what does it mean to be British? Because
Yeah.
Britain is one island and it's four countries.
Yep.
In the north, you have Scotland. In the east, west, you have Wales. Then you have England. Then there is a second island. Oh, a quarter of the island belongs to the UK as part of the United Kingdom. The other is independent islands. So it's like there are four, like you have Javanese people. Do you say you are Javanese first or Indonesian
Yeah,
first?
Japanese.
Because you come
Yeah.
to Java Island, but you are part of the whole of Indonesia. So for me, it's like we don't really say we're English. I sometimes hear my like white friends and neighbors, and they say they are English, but actually most people use the word British because it symbolizes the empire, and not the good thing about empire, but that there are so many different communities, aslis, ethnicities involved in the history of making Britain a great country. So we say British, because this is the word for all the different communities. I'm proud because my identity begins in UK. I was born here. I went to
Mm.
school here. Many of the
Yeah.
non-Muslim people, the elders, the shopkeepers, my teachers, my neighbors, my friends, who didn't
Yep.
follow Islam, but they showed me Islam. They treated me with kindness and love and respect. They asked many questions, and many times I don't know the answer. And this inspired me or influenced me to want to study my deen and my culture and my traditions more. So actually, the Muslims around me, they pushed me um, to understand. Well, the non-Muslims around me push me to understand my deen more. So I'm proud of this country because it keeps me safe. I am happy. I got my education from here. I got my medical support here. This is the home of my mother, and it's a big part of my culture. So I have in my home, we speak sometimes Urdu and Punjabi, but we mostly speak English. We are
Yep.
Muslim, but we speak with a very strong Yorkshire accent and we make jokes like English people. So we are British and we're very proud of that. But so for some people, it's very difficult because they would say, no, 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 Islam first and only Islam. And for some people, they are not proud that Britain was the country that invaded their grandfather's country, like they invaded India and Malaysia. But this is the past. This generation now, we don't blame them for what happened many, many years ago. You don't blame Dutch people living in Holland right now for what
Yep.
happened in 1930, 1920, yeah? So
Yeah, yeah.
in the same way, my community is the Muslim community, but my community is on my street, Eastleigh Road. There's a
Mm.
woman from Jamaica. She used to be a nurse, lives there. There is a man he is Muslim, Pakistani. His wife is English, Auntie Jane, and their sons, my close friends. So you have lots of integration, and this street is my community. And like I said, there are people from Romania and Bangladesh and Pakistan, but also from Poland. There are people from so many different communities who eat pork, who drink alcohol, who don't follow some of our akhlaq. But the thing is, we look after each other. They send their children to me to study or to do volunteering. They trust me. This Pakistani man who has lahya and thobe, they trust me to mentor their children. So they trust me, I trust them. This is our community in Hare Hills, and I'm proud of that. This is something
Yeah.
which is so open and free. And when people say, what does it mean to be British? This can have so many meanings. But actually, Britain is so diverse, so different, so open society. It's such an open society. And
Yeah.
many people can come. You could come from Indonesia, bring your culture, and there will be people who say, oh, wow, I want to learn to cook Indonesian food. I want to learn to speak your language. I want to learn about your dress. Because English people, I think, are so fascinated by different cultures and inviting those cultures into UK. So England is no longer just English culture. It's so mixed and it's always changing. And this is, I think, how countries develop when they take new cultures, new traditions, new philosophies.
Okay, so talking about the relationship, it means I just wondering about the relationship between Muslim and Christian in UK, because you know what, the official religion in UK is Protestant Christianity. So how to build the relationship between Muslim and Christian?
Well, and if I was not in Sumatra or if I was not in Java, somebody
Yeah.
might say, it technically is Indonesia, and correct me if I'm wrong, Indonesia is secular Islamic Republic.
Hmm.
What is the meaning of secular? What is the meaning of, where all religions are equal? Yes, the queen is, she is the symbol, like she is the symbolic, like the king of Yogyakarta. He is the
Yeah.
symbol of the city, and he also brings the tourism when you go down to Alon Alon. In the same way, our queen, she is the symbol of the United Kingdom, but she is also the head of the church. So she is the representative and the leader of the church. And this goes back to the time of King Henry VIII in the 1600s, who wanted to get divorced, and he divided the Catholic Church and his interpretation of the church and made it Church of England. Protestant, to protest, to go against the Pope, to protest. So the reality of your question is, we are a Christian nation, but actually, there was a study last year that showed 75% of young people in UK in like 2014 do not believe in a religion of their
Hmm.
grandparents, and only 25% of the young people asked believe in religion. And the biggest minority who believe in religion from the young community is Muslim community. And we sometimes call Muslims the community Generation X, because 50% of all Muslims are under the age of 25. So we are also one of the youngest communities, yeah? So religion is decreasing and increasing. New communities are bringing their religion. Communities from West Africa and East Africa, Christian communities from America. But then there are lots of people who are agnostic. They're not sure. You have lots of people now who say they are spiritual. They are trying to find their identity. They're not religious. they don't belong to a mosque or an institution, a fiqh, but they have an aqidah which is interested in trying different types of ibadah and different types of tasawwuf and spirituality. But we're a Christian country, so a lot of our history, and we have many churches, but many of these churches are becoming smaller. Many of these
Yeah.
churches are like historical buildings. I've seen churches that became mosques. There is a church, it's a Methodist church, and in the 1980s and 90s, the big Jamia Mosque, Masjid
Yep.
al-Bilal, they used to pray in the back hall, and then they bought the church and made it into the Jamia Mosque, and then later they bought a piece of land in the 90s. So there is a strong Christian community, but most people are secular. We say we have professional values. Everything is about accountability. Everything is about everybody working as a team. So the environment is very secular, meaning religion is not brought, it's seen as rude when you bring religion into corporate world or into the office. But the teaching of religion in school is very important. It's a big
Yep.
focus. The discussions of the big questions, the Sunday television programs, some of the big shows are about religion, are discussing religion and culture. So in our society, the big television programs like to question religion that people watch. The education system, they like to teach a lot about religion. Religion is a popular subject to study in universities, but people are more secular and more agnostic. So for
Yeah.
minorities who are like, I have yaqeen in Islam, what, because of your father? And then you have so many friends who have no yaqeen in Christianity or their religion. They are like, why do you follow this? And then the Muslim is thinking, I'm not sure. My Kiai say, my dad say, my Ustad say. So I need to now go and ask the questions. I remember many times in university, we used to have debates and discussions about hijab, about terrorism, about jihad, about uh, fitna and evil. What is evil? But some people would be very rude, but most people would be extremely polite and understanding and kind. And I think that's really beautiful because people want to learn. Like I said to you, British people, in my experience, are very excited. They want to learn about Eastern culture and Eastern philosophy, like Indiana Jones and people who have different colors. They just want to learn new things. So religion is increasing for Muslims and Sikhs and Eastern religion, but it's also decreasing for traditional Protestant Christianity. I hope you understand that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you very much for your explanation. So, talking, do you think that there are still misconception about Islam? It means in Britain
Okay, so of
is
course you have Islamophobia, which is one factor. When
yeah.
we talk about Islamophobia, currently one of the local kiais in my city, Imam Asim, you can follow him. He's just been appointed by the government to create a policy and a definition around what is Islamophobia and how do we tackle it from the government's perspective. So the government is interested, after lots of pressure from lots of Muslim organizations and community groups and non-Muslims who are fighting for Muslims' rights. I used to be a member of an organization called MEND, a leading Western European organization researching Islamophobia and training Muslims to campaign. I moved away because I just wanted to focus on some of my own work and personal problems, but a lot of respect to their research, their work, and the way they help to support my training. But Islamophobia was increasing. And funnily enough, at the moment, Indonesian, Malaysian students were very uncomfortable because when you think of coronavirus, people are thinking,
Yep.
oh my God, it's in China, Malaysia. They can't tell the difference between Chinese, Malayu, Javanese face. And it's very like, what? So at the beginning of coronavirus, there was an increase in like people from, say, your community who are reporting hate crime, being victims of racism, um, Islamophobia. But then it's decreased because some of the first people to die, the first four doctors were all Muslim doctors who died. One of the first nurses to die was a Muslim hijabi nurse. One of the youngest people in UK to die was, I think, a 12-year-old Muslim boy from Birmingham. Um, um, So people have been very appreciative of the different Muslims and different communities in all traditions who've been helping to fight Corona. But yes, the people who are in the universities, the professional people, I think they are very understanding of Islam. And there are lots of Muslim organizations, social media groups, campaigns, interfaith projects that are pushing, pushing, pushing. But I think a lot of people, they don't really care about religion. They're just like, okay, fine, it's cool, it's your culture, it's your tradition. They don't care. They judge somebody based upon when they meet them. But you do have some people who are in the far right. So I find a lot of these people are working class. Some of them are uneducated, they are workers, they are hardworking people. They meet in the pub, they have discussion. And look, I even meet educated people who say, Adam, you are a nice Muslim. My neighbor is a nice Muslim. The local mosque is very nice. But I don't understand. Why can somebody in Afghanistan or Saudi or Iraq use Quran and use ayat al-Quran to kill somebody? So I think a lot of people, they just judge you on their personal experience. But I also know a lot of people get scared. I want to ask you about Islam. I'm confused. Don't call me racist. Don't call me Islamophobe. So this is also important, that when you are having a discussion with a non-Muslim, you don't accuse them straight away. You don't give them a label. You give them a space to ask their questions and to discuss with you. But at the same time, I can understand that, 7/7, 9/11. Why is it that there is so much propaganda related to Muslim community and Islam? But we have been fighting and countering this by producing lots of positive, like Visit My Mosque Day. It's an annual campaign where Muslims invite non-Muslims to come to the mosque on the same day, all throughout the country, to come and see a mosque, to come and listen to the da'wah. We have National Sadaqah Day, a national day in March where people do Sadaqah projects. So there are lots of organizations doing good work. A lot of people don't care. They're like, okay. I do think there are some Muslims who are confused about Islam, and they
Yeah.
are struggling because they don't study tafsir and they don't have
Hmm.
opportunities to study Quran. So Surah Nisa, is this darabad to hit your wife? Is that okay? Why does Surah Al-Tawbah and Surah Al-Hud talk about jihad and fighting? Isn't the Buddhist way, peace, the best way? For example, how do we know that Allah is real? We can't see him. These kinds of questions people want to ask. Can you give me the
Yeah.
proof? And for a lot of Muslims, they don't always feel like they had the best opportunity to study fiqh. They just learn Tahara Salah, how to read Quran, memorize Juz Amma, Surah Baqarah, how to recite different du'as, hadiths, and then they leave madrasa because they go for 1 hour, 2 hours after school to the local kiai, or not even a kiai. Sometimes they would go to an old person or a teacher who is teaching in the community, and they didn't get to learn. And now you have lots of schools on a Saturday and a Sunday, lots of kiais and ulama who are born in UK teaching. So there's a change now in the education, but there's still many people of my parents' generation who are like, where do I understand Islam from? The Salafi way, the Sufi way, the Hizb way, the Usuli way, the Quranist way. What is the best perspective? So I think we need to do a better job of teaching the controversial subjects and allowing people to have discussion about Quran. What does the Quran say? Not just no, I don't know. Don't talk about this. This is forbidden. When you do that, people don't want to talk. People have assumption.
Yeah.
What are you hiding? Then you have people like Tommy Robinson, Katie Hopkins, famous like amateur journalists, writers, bloggers who say, why is it that so many Muslim masajids, their community is very close? Why is it that people, they don't talk about this ayah, this hadith? And people say, you're right. Yeah, I like what you're saying. You are very honest. Muslim people don't want to talk about these issues. And then people are not having the direct conversation. But you know something? Some people just want to become famous, popular, get respect. So by being controversial, they are popular. But I think majority of people They
Yep.
just watch the YouTube. From 2006, YouTube culture is so popular. And from 2006, people begin to rely more for Islam and for politics, watching the YouTube, watching the Instagram. So I think there are many young Muslim da'is, activists, communities effectively using social media and using it for discussions to talk about things. But we're improving. We're improving a lot in terms of discussion about Islam, questioning Islam, and young Muslims are saying, okay, maybe I'm not sure about this perspective of Islam, but I am this part of Islam makes sense to me. People are still exploring, and we should give people a space to question and to discuss, but also not make people scared if they say why Islam says this, why Islam says that. Let them talk, let them be open, and then have the discussion. And this is what we need to do more. If we don't, the people who are on the far right, the anti-Muslims will say, see, look, they're hiding something. And then the Muslims will say, I'm confused. Why is my friend asking this? I don't understand the answer. And this is for me the psychology of what is happening when people talk about Islam.
Yeah, okay. So, it's the last question. I think it's very good explanation about Islam. So, the last question from me is, what contribution do you think that the Muslim do in Britain? It means something like the society, British society, what the Muslim have to do to face, maybe to encounter the COVID-19 or something like that recently. What do you think? What the Muslim must do, must contribution about that?
So the general question is around what is the contribution of Muslims in UK? The thing
Yeah,
is, there is a strong culture where Muslims are being pushed to study science and to study medicine, to study optometry, to study pharmacy. There's a joke that in universities like Bradford, which has a large Muslim community, everybody is studying the sciences. I didn't. I'm not interested in the sciences. Well, I like psychology and biology, but there's a strong sense of education in engineering and the sciences. Some of the richest philanthropists and business people who are investing into the football clubs like Manchester City, that are investing into the big businesses and the finance sector, are from Muslim countries. But inside, for example, in COVID, 4 people who were senior GPs, medics, surgeons, who died were Muslims from Sudan, from the Arab world, from the Pakistani world, a young Pakistani Muslim nurse. There are so many Muslim doctors and nurses. We make a large percent. Actually, after the Second World War, it was doctors and nurses from India, Pakistan in the 1940s and 50s who saved the NHS, and from Caribbean who saved the NHS in the 60s and supported it. So there is a strong tradition of studying science, of studying medicine, of studying pharmacy in various communities, because our parents were from villages who were very poor in the Pakistani community, and we push our children. You are now living here. We now have more money than before, so you must do the best you can do. There are many, 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 many Muslim takeaways, businesses, where we take our traditional food and convert this into a business, like Malaysian food. Like there's a place called Roti Baker, where it's a Malaysian place where they in North London. It's extremely popular, where they make Malay food. They make things like soto, and they make things like bakso and that, and people love it. So Muslims from their culture are bringing their food, are bringing their fashion, are bringing their culture, their music, their philosophy, and converting this into business ideas. So Muslims are pushing business, innovation, investment for sports. The medicine, the doctors that we have are really contributing, and the Muslim community is working very closely with the Church of England, the Protestant Church, to do more interfaith, to do more community work. Muslims are pushing digital media and marketing. Some of the leading experts in digital media, in marketing, are people from a Muslim background. Muslims are part and parcel of integration in UK. You have in some communities some people who want to stay in a small community and they're happy. But the new generation is now becoming more open to saying, I'm British, I'm English, this is my culture. And their culture is becoming a mix of the Islamic, Pakistani, and the secular mixed together. So that is really healthy to see. As long as we don't compromise our Islam, our fiqh, then that's absolutely fantastic. But Muslim teachers, Muslims in the education sector, Muslims in research, Muslims are in all fields. For example, we now have 9 members of parliament. Naz Shah, Baroness Warsi, Sadiq Khan, Mayor of London, in positions of power and influence. You have Muslim leaders, and they are very important because they have power and influence, and they are showing the younger generation of Pakistanis, Indians, Arabs, look, we are in the positions of power in UK, and we are contributing to the structure and the development of the country. You can as well keep going. And this is a great time for motivation, a great time for looking at our developments. The number of consultants, government advisors, the number of people in the food sector and the catering and business sector. Muslims are in every field. Every field Muslims are in. And when it comes to science and technology, medicine and education, some of the leading experts are from a Muslim background. As long as we are comfortable in our identity, we are confident in our Islam, but comfortable to say we're British, we will go a long way. Many of the Darul Ulooms and Islamic colleges need to develop and advance their syllabus. Many of the Imams need to improve their skills, their language, their ability to understand mental health. I think we're beginning to see more Muslims now interested in studying mental health, anxiety, depression, disability. And I think this will be very good, because when we understand fiqh and Islam, fiqh al-aqliyah, when we understand Islam and we understand why some people don't like Islam, some people are not confident with the fiqh of their parents, through understanding mental health, we can improve our education and our awareness of different problems that Muslims are facing and make young Muslims more confident. But there is also, the last point, a large number of young people who are leaving Islam, who are murtad to Islam. Lots of people are entering Islam, but lots of people are leaving Islam or becoming confused or becoming agnostic. Do 10% of Muslims pray 5 times a day? Allahu A'lam. Same problem in many countries. So we also need to focus on inspiring Muslims through Islam, using Islamic history and Islamic culture and Islamic philosophy, like Rumi, like Ibn Sina, like all of these historical people, and saying, look, not everything in history comes from the West. Many amazing concepts, philosophies, ideas comes from the East, comes from India, comes from Islam, comes from Africa. And as Muslims begin to study and learn about this, they become more motivated to be proud of their Islam. But we still have a problem where atheists, murtad, agnostic, ex-Muslims are using social media to question and challenge Muslims on the Quran, on Hadith, on fiqh. And we need to do more work to understand the questions and to respond and to give Muslims a place to debate and discuss their identity more. It's happening. We just need to do more, inshallah.
Okay. Thank you very much for interesting conversation tonight. I think it's gonna be beneficial for other people around the world about this information from you about the British Muslim in UK. Thank you very much again, and have a nice day. Have a great day, and maybe in an other occasion we can meet again. Thank you very much, Ustaz Adam. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Jazakallah khair. Just to say, I don't represent all Muslims. I'm giving my own opinion. But alhamdulillah, I hope I've been able to share some reflections with you. Jazakallah khair, Ustaz Setia. This guy here is a really cool guy. He always looks after me when I come to Indonesia. Best teacher, Mu'alimat. Allah bless you, sir. And Jazakallah khair for your time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.